This audio recording is intended to facilitate the gradual release of confidential documents pertaining to a top-secret exchange program where 12 U.S. military personnel went to the planet Serpo, which was located in the Zeta Reticuli star system between the years 1965 and 1978. Release 30. Ancient astronauts crash land during the dinosaur era of Earth's distant past. 1st July 2008. Worldwide bombshell exclusive. You read it here first. Anonymous provides details on one of the most highly classified projects of all time, Operation Redacted, the discovery of an alien spacecraft which crash-landed on Earth during the dinosaur era. Shocking, positively amazing, beyond all disclosure expectations, like a fiery bolt of an incoming killer asteroid from out of the blue. Unbelievable, but 100% true. A mind-numbing, riveting, breathtaking read. Victor, Operation Redacted, a highly classified sensitive operation with far-reaching national security implications that took place in 1968. A redacted archaeological team uncovered a large metallic object in a remote area of southern Redacted, which is a close NATO ally of ours. The object was believed to be an alien spacecraft that had crashed approximately 200 million years ago, according to the archaeological team. The site subsequently was examined by a U.S. Air Force recovery team, which then put the age of the alien craft at approximately 150 million years ago. I don't think anyone can give an actual age of the site, but it was somewhere between 150 and 200 million years ago, based on the location of where it was found. Our scientists used the absolute dating method, employing decaying radioactive isotopes. Sedimentary rock formations and the fact that the object was embedded into the rock were used to estimate the age of the alien craft. The alien craft itself was 45 feet in diameter. The craft was transported to the state of Redacted and then to the giant blank lab complex in blank and opened. The alien craft contained two highly decomposed alien bodies and decayed animals which were apparently abducted by these alien beings. The animals were small dinosaurs on board the alien craft. The craft was stored at Redacted and years of intense research were conducted. The last time I checked, the research team ruled out the craft being of Eben origin. However, no one could tell where it came from. The alien bodies were far too decomposed to be thoroughly examined. They were about 5 feet tall and had very large bulbous heads. To the best of my knowledge, Operation Redacted is still an ongoing project. I personally worked on the operation in the early 70s. The instruments from the craft were interesting because they were made of small crystal-like devices wired together with a form of very fine wire. The alien propulsion system contained a large chamber with what we called rocks, obviously some form of energy in the chamber. Large vents placed around the chamber vented some sort of power, radiation, or some sort of tremendous energy generated through the vents and into the propulsion chamber, which enabled interstellar space travel. Examination of the rocks found zinc and several unknown materials and alloys which we still cannot identify to this day. The rocks obviously lost all of their energy over the years. They were not radioactive, nor did they contain any special properties. We could never power up the alien craft in the nearly 40 years we've had possession of it. We could not locate the actual power system and therefore could never operate any of the equipment contained within the craft. However, we did find a star chart. The chart was created from outside of the Earth on the alien home world. To this day, we have been unable to read and decipher the alien star chart. The star chart was of a deep area of space, but our scientists haven't been able to find that specific area of space. Your analogy of our work on Operation Redacted and that of transporting an SR-71 Blackbird back to the year 1200 AD was a good one. If we return 300 years later to the year 1500 AD, little, if anything, could have been learned by our ancestors as to how the Blackbird worked. In much the same way, the amazing, almost magic-like alien technology on this craft has similarly stumped us. While some progress has been made on it since 1968, it's been minimal, partially due to the poor degraded condition of the alien craft. Because this is an ongoing USG project, I ask that you place X's over the critical names and locations sent in a subsequent email, though you have the correct information. As a brief aside, you may share the blacked out information with Dr. Redacted, whose work on past classified USG projects bestows a certain professional courtesy upon him in that he deserves to know the particulars. Victor, I agree with you that the existence of alien civilizations who have already achieved space traveling capabilities zipping around the Milky Way galaxy and perhaps others truly boggles the mind. As you wrote me, the Ebens were perhaps still in their galactic diapers when these alien beings were already visiting other worlds about 150 to 200 million years ago, and Homo sapiens did not even exist. One can only wonder and speculate where a civilization that had already achieved interstellar space travel would be today technologically from 150 million to 200 million years ago. How many star systems have they visited by now? How many other alien civilizations have they made successful contact and interacted with and perhaps carry on some sort of trade with? How many solar systems have they visited and mapped out in our Milky Way galaxy and perhaps those of other galaxies? One also has to consider the possibility that rather than this crash having occurred in our timeline of 150 to 200 million years ago, these alien beings traveled to Earth from the future to our distant past, where dinosaurs ruled, as part of a research mission. That also boggles the mind. More to come, Anonymous. Supplementary background information on Operation Redacted. MYA, millions of years ago. YA, years ago. The enormous geologic timescales. Precambrian time. 4,600,000,000 to 542 million years ago, also known as the Precambrian epoch. Hadean eon. 4,600,000,000 years to 3,800,000,000 years ago. Archean eon. 3,800,000,000 to 2,500,000,000 years. Proterozoic eon, 2,500,000,000 to 542 million years ago. Phanerozoic eon, 542 million years ago to the present day, 2008 AD. Paleozoic era, 542 to 251 million years ago. Mesozoic era, 251 to 65.5 million years ago. Triassic period, 251 to 199 million years ago. Jurassic period, 199 to 145 million years ago. Cretaceous period, 145 to 65.5 million years ago. And within those periods, geologists have stages. Hatangian stage, 208 million years ago to 203.5 million years ago. Cimmerian stage, 203.5 million years ago to 194.5 million years ago. Pliensbachian stage, 194.5 million years ago to 187 million years ago. Torsian stage, 187 million years ago to 178 million years ago. Alenian stage, 178 million years ago to 173.5 million years ago. Bajocian stage, 173.5 million years ago to 166.1 million years ago. Bathonian stage, 166.1 million years ago to 161.3 million years ago. Colovian stage, 161.3 million years ago to 157.1 million years ago. Oxfordian stage, 157.1 million years ago to 154.7 million years ago. Kimmeridgian stage, 154.7 million years ago to 152.1 million years ago. Tithonian stage, 152.1 million years ago to 145.6 million years ago. Parasian stage, 145.6 million years ago to 140.7 million years ago. Valanginian stage, 140.7 million years ago to 135 million years ago. Hoderivian stage, 135 million years ago to 131.8 million years ago. Bermian stage, 131.8 million years ago to 124.5 million years ago. Aptian stage, 124.5 million years ago to 112 million years ago. Albian stage, 112 million years ago to 97 million years ago. Cenomanian stage, 97 million years ago to 90.4 million years ago. Turonian stage, 90.4 million years ago to 88.5 million years ago. Connasian stage, 88.5 million years ago to 86.6 million years ago. Suetonia stage, 86.6 million years ago to 83 million years ago. Capanian stage, 83 million years ago to 74 million years ago. Maastrichtian stage, 74 million years ago to 65.5 million years ago. Cenozoic era, 65.5 million years ago to the present day, 2008 AD. Tertiary period, 65.5 million years ago to 1.8 million years ago. Neogene period, 23 million years ago to the present day, 2008 AD. Some list. Quaternary period, 1.8 million years ago to the present day, 2008. Holocene epoch, 11,800 years ago to the present day, 2008 AD. To better understand the immense blocks of geologic time we're discussing here, these measures of time are called eras, periods, stages, epochs, ages, and time. Planet Earth's origin is generally put at 4.6 billion years ago, which is the age of the oldest meteorites found. To better appreciate the vastness of geologic time, let's think of those 4.6 billion years as represented by a single year. The oldest fossil records go back only about 40 days out of that 365-day year. Humans' presence on the planet is only about 2 hours. Homo sapiens sapiens, modern humans' presence on the planet is only about 5 minutes. Using the one-year motto, it makes the notion of evolution possible, probable, and comprehensible. One of the major divisions in the history of life occurs at the beginning of the Cambrian period, 542 to 488 million years ago, which falls under the Paleozoic era. When most of the main groups of animals appeared for the first time in the vast geologic record, the seas experienced an explosion of invertebrate animal life, including thousands of species of trilobites. There is no life on land yet. All of this occurs after massive collisions between Earth's plates create a supercontinent in the southern hemisphere known as Gondwanaland. In the northern hemisphere was Laurasia, both of which were west of the Tethys Sea. Both of these land masses came from a single supercontinent called Pangaea that scientists believe broke apart about 170 million years ago to form the current continents that we have today. Important note, more than 88% of Earth's history is Precambrian. Of the remaining time when Earth has been home to animal life as we know it, the parts that include humans and their ancestors is less than 1%. Note, there are several variants of the geological timescale used in different fields such as basic paleontology, mainstream geology, geological surveying, and prospecting for fossil fuels. The major divisions of geological time are termed eons, beginning of time, and then eras. In turn, each of these great eras is divided into spans called periods. These are then broken down into stages within those eras. For the next to the last, the Paleogene period and the current Neogene period, time spans are subdivided into shorter time spans known as epochs. The alien spacecraft that crashed on Earth was roughly during the Jurassic period of 199 to 145 million years ago. This is what was present on Earth during that period. North American continent drifts westward, opening the Gulf of Mexico. A rift forms between South America and Africa. A warm, moist climate contributes to the flourishing of coral reefs and to temperate and subtropical forest. It marks the appearance of the first angiosperms, flowering plants, pterosaurs, winged reptiles, the earliest known birds, Archaeopteryx, and huge dinosaurs such as the carnivorous Allosaurus and herbivorous Apatosaurus. The primary life forms during the Jurassic period: placodonts, primitive archosaurs, chordites, brachiopods, echinoderms, hemichordates, sponges, jellyfish, corals, flatworms, mollusks, annelids, arthropods, ichthyosaurs, rhamphorhynchids, stegosaurs, plesiosaurs, pterodactyloids, ankylosaurs, ornithopods, horned dinosaurs, sauropods, and pteropods. Dinosaurs. They existed on Earth from 225 to 65 million years ago during the three periods of the Mesozoic era, the Triassic and Jurassic and the Cretaceous periods. Dinosaurs evolved from land-dwelling reptiles called thecodonts. Scientists have named approximately 700 to 1,000 species of dinosaurs. Size does matter. Largest meat-eating dinosaurs. Spinosaurus, which lived about 145 million years ago. Smallest dinosaur. Compsognathus longips, that were chicken-sized dinosaurs measuring only 3 feet and weighing in at just 8 pounds, liked lizard lunches and lived about 145 million years ago. Heaviest dinosaur, Brachiosaurus, weighed as much as 70 to 90 tons, was as tall as a 4-story building, and lived about 150 million years ago. Struthiomimus, Theo. Struthiomimus stood 7 feet tall, was 10 to 13 feet long, and could run at speeds of up to 31 miles per hour. Longest dinosaur, Seismosaurus, the earthquake lizard and largest of the sauropod, was a long-necked plant eater, reached lengths of about 98 to 130 feet, 30 to 39 meters, and lived about 150 million years ago. Dinosaur with the most teeth, Anatotitan, a duck-billed dinosaur, had about 1,000 tiny leaf-shaped teeth arranged in rows of 200 to 250 on each side of its upper and lower jaws, all at the back of its mouth. Dinosaurs are classified in 2 groups. Ornithoschia, or bird-hipped dinosaurs, had pelvic bones arranged like those of a bird hip, within the pubic bones that was bent backwards. They were plant eaters with hoof-like claws. Saurischia, or lizard-hipped dinosaurs, is the second group. Their pelvic bones were arranged like those of a lizard hip, with the pubic bones pointing forward. There were 2 main subgroups. The theropoda were fast, agile hunters. They included Tyrannosaurus rex, Velociraptor, Allosaurus, and the ancestors of modern birds. The Sauropodomorpha were plant eaters with massive bodies, long tails, with front legs smaller than their back legs. Brachiosaurus was a well-known example. Dinosauria. The ruling reptiles are characterized by the number of bones in the skull, a ball-like head of the thigh bone, 3 or more vertebrae fixed to the hip bone, 3 or fewer finger bones in the 4th finger, a hole rather than a socket in the hip for the leg bone, a strong joint between the foot bones and the bones of the hind leg, the presence of a flange on the upper arm bone that held powerful muscles. Dinosaurs became extinct around 65 million years ago during a mass extinction known as the Cretaceous Tertiary Mass Extinction Event, or KT boundary event. It is widely believed that the event resulted from the collision of an asteroid with Earth at a point on the northwest coastline of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico called the Chicxulub crater, named for a local village. This crater, measuring 106 to 112 miles, 170 kilometers across, formed and shot billions of tons of matter into the atmosphere, which blotted out the sun and caused global temperatures to plummet, thereby effectively ending the lengthy reign of the dinosaurs. The evidence is based mainly on the fact that rocks laid down during this period over a large area contain more than the expected amount of iridium, an element comparatively rare on Earth but characteristic of meteorites and asteroids. Victims and survivors of the KT boundary event. Victims: dinosaurs, pterosaurs, plesiosaurs. Survivors of the KT boundary: fish, birds, insects, mammals, crocodiles, ammonites, amphibians, lizards and snakes, turtles and tortoises. Strange but true. People have produced some weird, fantastic, and wonderful theories to explain why the dinosaurs disappeared. Some suggest they died from too many erupting volcanoes poisoning the atmosphere, died of boredom, drowned in their own droppings, committed suicide, or were even hunted by space aliens. Paleontology. Paleontology is the science of prehistoric life, generally defined as organisms that lived more than 10,000 years ago, prior to the end of the most recent ice age. The science is based on the nature and distribution of fossils, the remains or traces of organisms. In addition to satisfying our curiosity about organisms that lived long ago, paleontology provides evidence to support the concepts of evolution and continental drift. It also helps to support the theory that impacts of asteroids and comets have been instrumental in wiping out significant portions of Earth's lives at intervals in our planet's history. The so-called mass extinctions. Paleolithic period. The cultural period of the Stone Age that began about 2.5 to 2 million years ago is marked by the earliest use of tools made of chipped stone. The Paleolithic period ended about 10,000 years ago. It is also called the Old Stone Age. The Lower Paleolithic Division is by far the longest division of this period, lasting until about 200,000 years ago, and is characterized by the hammerstones and simple core tools such as hand axes and cleavers. The Middle Paleolithic Division is generally dated to about 40,000 years ago and is associated with archaic Homo sapiens, primarily the Neanderthals and their Mousterian tool culture. The Upper Paleolithic Division dates to about 10,000 years ago in Europe and the Middle East and is associated with Homo sapiens. Various distinctive local tool cultures flourished during this relatively brief period, producing a great variety of skillfully flanked tools as well as tools made of bone, antler wood, and other materials. Paleoclimatology is the scientific study of climate conditions along with their causes and effects in the geologic past. These conditions are reconstructed on the basis of evidence found in the geologic record, especially in the form of glacial deposits, fossil sediments, and rock and ice cores. Because much of the geologic record studied in paleoclimatology predates humans, this research is very valuable for weighing the relative influence of human and natural causes on global climate change. Paleoecology is the branch of ecology that deals with the interaction between organisms and their environment. Paleomagnetism is the fixed orientation of the rock's magnetic minerals as originally aligned at the time of the rock's formation. Fossil, the remains or imprint of an organism from a previous geologic time. More than 1 million species of fossil organisms have been identified. These range from microscopic bacteria to giant dinosaurs and tree ferns. Evidence of truly ancient fossils, much of it controversial, suggests Earth may have had simple bacteria-like life as long as 3.5 billion years ago. Fossil types, the 4 basic types. Body fossils are either actual remains or organisms or remains in which original chemicals have been replaced by other chemicals, typically silicon dioxide and other minerals from water seeping through the buried remains. Index fossils are the fossil remains of an organism that lived in a particular geologic age and is used to identify or date the rock or rock layer in which it is found. Microfossil is a microscopic fossil as that of a pollen grain or unicellular organism. Micropaleontology is the branch of paleontology that deals with microfossils. Trace fossils are marks made by the activities of ancient organisms such as footprints, burrows, leaf imprints, chemical traces, and tooth marks on bones. They reveal much about the anatomy as well as the habits and habitats of their creators. Dating fossils employs 2 methods. Relative dating method. Relative dating method compares the ages of various fossils, indicating their relative ages, but not their actual ages. For example, stratigraphy is based on the fact that in an undisturbed sequence of rock layers, fossils in lower layers are older than those in upper layers. Absolute dating method. Absolute dating method provides specific ages for fossils. These methods are based on the fact that radioactive isotopes decay at a specific rate, called a half-life. Another technique, electron spin resonance dating, uses the changes that background radiation indirectly makes at a predictable rate in the magnetic field of crystalline minerals. It is used to date calcium carbonate in shells, teeth, and coral. The timeline of ancient man. Homo habilis appeared 2.3 to 2.5 million years ago in the Odubai Gorge, East Africa. The earliest Homo sapiens appeared possibly 260,000 years ago in Africa, and then definitely 160,000 to 150,000 years ago. Homo sapiens coexisted with Homo erectus in Asia and Neanderthals in Europe and the Middle East. Homo habilis provided evidence of the deliberate use of fire 1.8 million years ago to 500,000 years ago. Homo neanderthalensis, Neanderthal man, appeared 350,000 to 250,000 years ago and emerged in Ice Age Europe and Western Asia for the next 220,000 years before dying off 24,000 years ago. Homo sapiens population spread is halted possibly due to the catastrophic eruption of Toba, Sumatra, about 71,000 years ago. Global temperatures are lowered for a millennium. The immense volcanic eruptions left a 1,000 square mile Toba caldera behind. A giant depression formed after the collapse of the volcano's cone. Today, it holds a large body of water with an island in the caldera, which is a resurgent dome where magma is active in a chamber directly below the surface. Nuclear atom was the most recent known common ancestor of today's man, having come into existence sometime between 90,000 to 60,000 years ago. Pangaea, a large supercontinent that extended from pole to pole on the one side of the Earth during the late Paleozoic and early Mesozoic eras. It eventually split, forming Laurasia and Gondwandaland. Sedimentary rock. Rock formed by the buildup of material at the bottoms of bodies of water. Metamorphic, the name given to sedimentary rocks or minerals that have recrystallized under the influence of tremendous heat and great pressure since their original deposition. See prehistoric time above. Mass extinctions in Earth's distant past are due to sea level changes, study says, but what caused those changes in sea levels? Some scientists claim that the sixth mass extinction level event is already underway due to global warming. By John Roach, National Geographic News, Tuesday, June 17, 2008. The rise and fall of the seas may have a more lethal toll on Earth's life than asteroids and supervolcanoes, according to a new study. Over the past 540 million years, every increase in the rate of extinctions, including the 5 so-called mass extinctions, have been linked to environmental changes wrought by changing sea levels, the study says. The research may be especially relevant today as what some scientists are calling the sixth mass extinction may already be underway, perhaps due to global warming. Since the beginning of life on Earth 3.5 billion years ago, scientists estimate there have been as many as 23 major extinction events. During the past 540 million years, there have been 5 major mass extinctions, primarily of marine plants and animals. Each time, between 75 and 95% of all species vanished. The idea that sea level changes are associated with these mass extinction events has been around for almost 60 years. Peters noted, but until now, scientists have been unable to quantify the environmental consequences of sea level change. The seas rise and fall as the climate shifts and as the Earth's tectonic plates move. As a result, the marine animals in them sometimes disappear when their shallow water environments vanish or are dramatically altered. He found that all 5 mass extinction events and many of the smaller events in the fossil record are associated with changes in sea level and sedimentation. Shrinking habitat. Wolfgang Kissling, a paleontologist at Humboldt University in Berlin, Germany, is an expert on mass extinction events. While he doubts that changing sea levels alone drive mass die-offs, he said the study is important because it shows that habitat size is relevant to species diversity. The bigger habitat you have, the more species you can sustain, and when habitat shrinks, you get increased risk of extinction, said Kissling, who was not involved in the study. However, he added, changes in sea level alone are insufficient to explain the magnitude of mass extinction events such as the one 65 million years ago, which wiped out the dinosaurs. There's got to be more, he said, something like supervolcanoes and/or asteroid impacts. What causes large-scale animal die-offs? About 90% of all life forms that have ever lived on Earth are now extinct. The specific causes for such extinction-level events are mysteries, but large impacting asteroids are prime suspects. National Geographic, Friday, June 20th, 2008. More than 90% of all organisms that have ever lived on Earth are extinct. As new species evolve to fit ever-changing ecological niches, older species fade away. But the rate of extinction is far from constant. At least a handful of times in the last 500 million years, 50 to more than 90% of all species on Earth have disappeared in a geological blink of the eye. Dinosaurs appeared after one of the biggest mass extinction events on Earth, the Permian-Triassic extinction about 250 million years ago. The most studied mass extinction between the Cretaceous and Paleogene periods about 65.5 million years ago killed off the dinosaurs and made room for mammals to rapidly diversify and evolve. The causes of these mass extinction events are unsolved mysteries, though volcanic eruptions and the impact of large asteroids or comets are prime suspects in many of the cases. Both would eject tons of debris into the atmosphere, darkening the skies for at least months on end. Starved of sunlight, plants and plant-eating creatures would quickly die. Space rocks and volcanoes could also unleash toxic and heat-trapping gases that, once the dust settled, enabled runaway global warming. An extraterrestrial impact is most closely linked to the Cretaceous extinction event. A huge crater off Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula is dated to about 65.5 million years ago, coinciding with the extinction. Global warming fueled by volcanic eruptions at the Deccan Flats in India may also have aggravated the event. Whatever the cause, dinosaurs, as well as about half of all species on the planet, went extinct. Massive floods of lava erupting from the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province about 200 million years ago may explain the Triassic-Jurassic extinction. About 20% of all marine families went extinct, as well as most mammal-like creatures, many large amphibians, and all non-dinosaur archosaurs. Largest ever die-off. The Permian-Triassic extinction event about 250 million years ago was the deadliest. More than 90% of all species perished. Many scientists believed an asteroid or comet triggered the massive die-off, but again, no crater has been found. Another strong contender is flood volcanism from the Serbian Traps, a large igneous province in Russia. Impact-triggered volcanism is yet another possibility. Starting about 360 million years ago, a drawn-out event eliminated about 70% of all marine species from Earth over a span of perhaps 20 million years. Pulses, each lasting 100,000 to 300,000 years, are noted within the larger date Devonian extinction. Insects, plants, and the first proto-amphibians were on the land by then, though the extinctions dealt landlubbers a severe setback. The Ordovician-Silurian extinction, about 440 million years ago, involved massive glaciation that locked up much of the world's water as ice and caused sea levels to drop precipitously. The event took its hardest toll on marine organisms such as shelled brachiopods, eel-like conodonts, and the trilobites. Is it happening now? Today, many scientists think the evidence indicates a sixth mass extinction is underway. The blame for this one, perhaps the fastest in Earth's history, falls firmly on the shoulders of humans. By the year 2100, human activities such as pollution, land clearing, and overfishing may have driven more than half of the world's marine and land species to extinction. Global warming could wipe out half of all species where they meet a fate similar to that of the dinosaurs: extinction. Icehouse conditions promote biodiversity with all life forms, while greenhouse conditions give rise to increased extinction rates. By Alec Jha, The Guardian, Wednesday, October 24, 2007. Rising global temperatures caused by climate change could trigger a huge extinction of plants and animals, according to a study. Though humans would probably survive such an event, half of the world's species could be wiped out. Scientists at the University of York and the University of Leeds examined the relationship between climate and biodiversity over the past 520 million years, almost the entire fossil record, and uncovered an association between the two for the first time. When the Earth's temperature are in a greenhouse climate phase, they found that extinction rates were relatively high. Conversely, during cooler icehouse conditions, biodiversity increased. Peter Mayhew, a population ecologist at the University of York and one of the authors of the research paper, said, "Our results provide the first clear evidence that global climate may explain substantial variations in the fossil record in a simple and consistent manner. If our results hold for current warming, the magnitude of which is comparable with the long-term fluctuations in Earth's climate, they suggest that extinctions will increase." According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, global temperatures could increase by as much as 6 degrees by the end of the century. Dr. Mayhew found that of the 5 mass extinctions events in the Earth's history, 4 were linked to greenhouse climates where the Earth was covered in heat-trapping carbon dioxide or methane gases. This includes the extinction of the dinosaurs 65 million years ago, thought to have been caused by the impact of a large asteroid on the Yucatan Peninsula and beneath the Gulf of Mexico. The largest ever extinction occurred 251 million years ago, when 95% of animals and plant species were killed off. The most likely cause was the floods of lava erupting from the central Atlantic region, an event that triggered the opening of the Atlantic Ocean. Dr. Mayhew said extinction through global warming was expected to occur through mismatches between the climates to which organisms are adapted and the future distributions of those climates. Mankind's secret kept in lunar ark in case Earth is devastated by an errant asteroid comet or global thermonuclear war, by Maurice Chittenden, The Sunday Times, Sunday, March 9, 2008. If civilization is wiped out on Earth, salvation may come from space. Plans are being drawn up for a doomsday ark on the moon containing the essentials of life and civilization to be activated in the event of Earth being devastated by a giant asteroid or nuclear war. Construction of a lunar information bank discussed at a conference in Strasbourg last month would provide survivors on Earth with a remote access toolkit to rebuild the human race. A basic version of the Ark would contain hard disks holding information such as DNA sequences and instructions for metal smelting or planting crops. It would be buried in a vault just under the lunar surface, and transmitters would send the data to heavily protected receivers on Earth. If no receivers survived, the Ark would continue transmitting the information until new ones could be built. The vault could later be extended to include natural material including microbes, animal embryos, and plant seeds, and even cultural relics such as surplus items from museum stores. As a first step to discovering whether living organisms could survive, European Space Agency scientists are hoping to experiment with growing tulips on the moon within the next decade. According to Bernard Foyng, chief scientist at the agency's research department, the first flowers, tulips, or Arabidopsis, a plant widely used in research, could be grown in 2012 or 2015. Tulips are ideal because they can be frozen, transported long distances, and grown with little nourishment. Combined with algae and enclosed artificial atmospheres and chemically enhanced lunar soils, they could form the basis of an ecosystem. The first experiments would be carried out in transparent biospheres containing a mix of gases to mimic the Earth's atmosphere. Carbon dioxide given off by the decomposing plants would be mopped up by the algae, which would generate oxygen through photosynthesis. The databank would initially be run by robots and linked to Earth by radio transmissions. Scientists hope to put a manned station on the moon before the end of the century. The databank would need to be buried under rock to protect it from the extreme temperatures, radiation, and vacuum on the moon. It would be run partly on solar power. The scientists envisioned placing the first experimental databank on the moon no later than 2020, and it could have a lifespan of 30 years. The full archive would be launched by 2035. The information would be held in Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian, and Spanish, and would be linked by transmitters to 4,000 Earth repositories that would provide shelter, food, and water supply for survivors. Bombshell study. Human beings almost became extinct 71,000 years ago. New study says near extinction threatened all humanity from the Toba volcanic eruption and the ensuing rapid, dramatic, and climate changes. By Randolph E. Schmidt, science writer, Breitbart.com, Thursday, April 24th, 6:15 p.m. U.S. Eastern. Washington, AP. Human beings may have had a brush with extinction 71,000 years ago, and extensive genetic studies suggest. The human population at that time was reduced to small isolated groups in Africa, apparently because of drought, according to an analysis released Thursday. About 3,000 generations ago, a mere blink in the evolutionary timescale, the human population of Earth dwindled to the point where everyone on the planet could have fitted inside a small football stadium. Mounting DNA evidence indicates that the human population was reduced to perhaps fewer than 10,000 or perhaps 2,000. One study even suggests that the number of women dropped to just 500 individuals. For centuries, each new generation of Homo sapiens sapiens could easily have been the last. The Genographic Project study and report was published in the American Journal of Human Genetics. Previous studies using mitochondrial DNA, which is passed down through mothers, have traced modern humans to a single mitochondrial Eve who lived in Africa about 200,000 years ago. The migration of humans out of Africa to populate the rest of the world appears to have begun about 60,000 years ago, but little has been known about humans between Eve and that dispersal. The new study looks at the mitochondrial DNA of the Khoi and San people in South Africa, which appear to have diverged from other people between 90,000 and 150,000 years ago. Humans separated into small populations prior to the Stone Age, when they came back together and began to increase in numbers and spread to other areas. Spencer Wells, National Geographic Society explorer in residence, said in a statement, "Tiny bands of early humans forced apart by harsh environmental conditions coming back from the brink to reunite and populate the world. Truly an epic drama written in our DNA." Weathering the storm. Homo sapiens survived because there were 3 tropical areas of high rainfall in the world where the land was able to support large numbers of people. All were in Africa, where there is archaeological evidence for human expansion after the climate crisis. Paleontologist Meev Leakey, a genographic advisor, commented, "Who would have thought that as recently as 71,000 years ago, extremes of climate had reduced our population to such small numbers that we were on the very edge of extinction. Today, we owe our very existence to those few populations that, through luck or ingenuity, managed to survive the geological disaster that killed the rest of our species." Global catastrophe. In fact, the reason for the collapse of our species was right under our feet. Deposits of ash and debris have provided evidence for one of the most severe natural disasters in the history of life on Earth. It has been dated by paleoclimatologists and geoscientists to exactly 71,000 years ago. The cause of this disaster was the eruption of the Toba volcano on the Indonesian island of Sumatra, the largest volcanic explosion of the previous 2 million years and one of the biggest of the past 450 million years. Its effects were felt across the Earth. The crater it left behind measured 60 miles across. The Genographic Project. Earth 2100. Is this century our last one? Scientists from around the globe join ABC News in a forum on surviving the 21st century by Sarah Namias, ABC News, Thursday, June 12, 2008. Are we living in the last century of our civilization? Is it possible that all of our technology, knowledge, and wealth cannot save us from ourselves? Could our society actually be heading towards a collapse? According to many of the world's top scientists, the answer is yes. Unless we take action now, this September in Earth 2100, a dramatic ABC News 2-hour broadcast. Earth 2100.tv. The greatest minds across the globe will join together in a countdown to the year 2100 to tell us what we must do to survive the next century and what may happen if we don't. And that is the end of this video. If you like things like this, please give this video a thumbs up. Please share this video. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I have more things like this. Take care.